If you think you make decisions completely rationally, you're wrong. Little psychological tricks influence your choices all the time, from liking someone for no apparent reason to trusting an idea more just because you've heard it before. The best part? You can use these same strategies to your advantage to connect better, gain respect, and gain influence naturally. Great leaders and communicators master these techniques to stand out, and the good news is that anyone can learn them. Starting now, you'll discover how small adjustments in the way you speak, act, and position yourself can transform your presence and influence. Are you ready to see the world through different eyes? Building connections with strangers can seem daunting, but the key is in the small details. A sincere compliment about something personal, like a stylish pair of shoes or a unique accessory, can be the perfect conversation starter. The human brain thrives on recognition, and by highlighting something positive about someone, you trigger a small psychological pleasure in the other person, making them more receptive. This is how great communicators can quickly break the ice. A simple, "I love your watch, where did you buy it?" can be the spark for a natural and effortless conversation. In addition to compliments, simple questions that tap into the other person's personal universe have a powerful effect. Questions like, "Have you been here before?" or "What did you think of this event?" are light-hearted but highly effective conversation starters. This type of approach activates one of the most powerful psychological tricks: reciprocity. When you show genuine interest, the other person feels inclined to respond openly. This creates a natural flow of dialogue, where even the shyest people can feel comfortable expressing themselves. Another cool psychological trick is to share something about yourself before asking a question. This reduces the pressure and encourages the other person to respond in kind. For example, by saying, "I always feel a little lost when I arrive in a new place. How do you usually find your way around here?" You create a bridge of connection without seeming intrusive. People feel more comfortable when they know they're not the only ones facing certain situations. And when the conversation flows, the connection happens effortlessly. Body language speaks louder than words, and understanding this phenomenon can be a powerful tool for measuring the level of connection with someone. One of the most subtle and effective psychological tricks is posture mirroring. When two people are talking, they unconsciously begin to imitate each other's body language. Crossing your arms and watching to see if the other person does the same is a small test that reveals whether they are attentive and engaged in the interaction. If mirroring occurs, it means there is rapport and a good reception in the conversation. This technique not only helps to assess the other person's interest, but it can also be used strategically to build rapport. If you want someone to feel comfortable in your presence, try subtly imitating some of their gestures or the way they lean their body. This triggers a sense of familiarity and connection in the other person's brain, making them more likely to trust you. It is a psychological trick often used by experienced negotiators and high-level salespeople to gain the trust of their clients without them consciously realizing it. But be careful. Mirroring needs to be natural and subtle, otherwise it can seem artificial and even uncomfortable. The idea is not to copy every movement to the millimeter, but rather to create a similar rhythm in the interaction. This applies to gestures, tone of voice, and even the speed of speech. When applied correctly, this psychological trick transforms any conversation into a harmonious environment, facilitating agreements, friendships, and even stronger professional relationships. And speaking of tricks to improve communication, there is a strategy that can boost information retention and improve memory. The human mind works with associations, and one of the most interesting psychological tricks to improve memory is to link information to sensory stimuli. A practical example is the use of chewing gum with a specific flavor while studying and at exam time. This small detail helps the brain to remember the learning context, activating stored memories more easily. It is the same principle as when we smell a smell and instantly remember a moment from our childhood. The brain connects sensations and information, making retrieval more fluid. Another powerful strategy is the spaced repetition technique. Instead of studying for hours at a time and relying on luck, the ideal is to review the content at strategic intervals. For example, study a concept today, revisit it in 2 days, then in a week, and finally in a month. This method activates the neural reinforcement effect, preventing the information from being discarded by the brain. Great masters of memorization, such as those who participate in memory competitions, use this psychological trick to memorize huge lists of words and numbers with frightening accuracy. Furthermore, Your posture while studying directly influences your knowledge retention. Keeping your spine straight and avoiding lying down to study signals to your brain that it's time to be alert, not relaxed. Studies show that students who adopt an attentive posture and write handwritten summaries retain more information than those who just read passively. Small adjustments to your learning routine can have a big impact on your results. And if memory is shaped by strong impressions, imagine the weight of first and last impressions in any experience. The human brain doesn't register every detail of an experience, but it places disproportionate importance on the beginning and end. This is one of the most powerful psychological tricks for making an impact. If you want to be remembered, you need to get your opening and closing right. When you meet someone for the first time, a genuine smile, a firm handshake, and an engaging comment can define the entire perception someone will have of you. In professional settings, for example, starting a meeting with an insightful observation or a sincere compliment on someone's work puts you in a good light. Likewise, the last impression is also crucial. Have you ever noticed how great service can be ruined if the waiter is rude when bringing the bill? Or how an amazing event loses its shine if the ending is messy and poorly planned? People carry with them the memory of the outcome, so always end an interaction on a positive note. Whether it's a casual conversation, a business meeting, or even a job interview, leave a memorable comment, a warm thank you, or a promise to follow up, something that ends the experience on a high note. This logic applies to everything: presentations, speeches, videos, and even digital content. Content creators who know this make their video openings and endings more energetic, ensuring that their audience stays engaged and comes back for more. And if the way we start and end interactions has such an impact on how others perceive us, imagine the impact of knowing how to diffuse a tense environment when the situation calls for it. Tense situations can arise out of nowhere, and knowing how to diffuse a tense environment is a valuable skill. One of the lesser-known but incredibly effective psychological tricks is to start moving your mouth as if you were speaking, without making a sound. This small gesture triggers an unconscious reflex in others, causing them to lower their voices to listen to you. This works especially well in noisy groups or during heated discussions. Experienced leaders and teachers use this technique to regain control of a room without having to shout or aggressively demonstrate authority. Another subtle but powerful method is to change the pace and tone of your speech. When a tense environment is tense, speaking calmly and slowly can convey a sense of security and stability. This causes others to unconsciously begin to mirror your energy, reducing the tension in the air. It's the same principle used by negotiators in crisis situations. Maintaining a calm tone creates a psychological de-escalation effect in conflict. If someone is heated, turning up the volume to compete will only make things worse. The trick is to de-escalate the energy around them. In addition, body language plays a huge role in reducing tension. Maintaining an open posture, with your arms relaxed at your sides rather than crossed, signals openness. Briefly looking away to something neutral in the room can reduce the emotional charge of the conversation. Small details like a slight smile or a visible sigh show that you're not buying into the tension, but rather diffusing it. And speaking of subtle influence, there's a psychological trick that gets people to accept ideas without even realizing it. The human brain loves familiarity. The more we hear or see something, the more we tend to believe it. This is one of the most used psychological tricks by great communicators, marketers, and even politicians: strategic repetition. If you want someone to buy into an idea, present it in different ways over time. This can be done in casual conversations, reinforcing the same concept in different contexts without sounding pushy. For example, if you want to convince a friend to change a habit, mention the benefits subtly at different times, always connecting them to something relevant to them. This phenomenon is known as the mere exposure effect. The more a person is exposed to a piece of information, the more they perceive it as true. Big brands do this all the time with jingles, slogans, and messages that appear repeatedly on TV, social media, and in advertisements. You can apply this in your daily life to positively influence the people around you. If you want your team to buy into an idea, bring it up in meetings, informal conversations, and even practical examples, making it increasingly familiar and natural. The key is variation and naturalness. Saying the same phrase over and over can sound forced, but rephrasing the idea and presenting it in different formats keeps it interesting and reinforces acceptance. In addition, tone of voice and confidence in the message are essential. The human brain gravitates toward what sounds confident and consistent. And while we're on the subject of influence, the way you physically position yourself also determines the respect you receive. The way you physically carry yourself determines how others perceive you, and it happens in a matter of seconds. One of the most effective psychological tricks for being taken seriously is to stand up straight and walk with confidence. People who project presence by keeping their shoulders straight and their head held high convey authority without having to say a word. This is because the human brain automatically associates an expansive posture with leadership and confidence. Just watch important public figures, from CEOs to political leaders, and notice how the way they move reinforces their influence. Another crucial detail is eye contact. Looking directly into the eyes of the person you are speaking to, without exaggerating, shows firmness and genuine interest. In social or professional situations, someone who maintains a confident gaze conveys credibility. If you constantly look away, it can send a message of insecurity or submissiveness. This is one reason why lawyers practice eye contact to persuade jurors, and negotiators use it to establish dominance in a conversation. Nonverbal communication has a huge impact on how you are treated. If you want to be respected, avoid closed postures, such as crossed arms or looking down. Instead, stand firm, take up space without fear, and speak in a controlled tone of voice. People who master this type of body language not only command respect, but also influence others more effectively. And when we combine posture with psychological communication tricks, the results can be surprising. Now that you know these psychological tricks, are you going to apply them, or are you just going to play around? Small details change everything: your posture, your words, the way you connect. Those who understand this have an advantage in any interaction. Think, what would it be like if people listened to you more, respected your ideas more, and remembered you in the right way? The knowledge is here, but it only makes a difference if it is put into practice. If you want to continue learning and standing out, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Now tell me, which of these tricks have you used without realizing it? Comment below.